Look at Chicago. Look
Oh,
at any other successful city. It's clean. It's inviting.
But it was run by Democrats, Joe.
Well, but there's a lot of Republicans that are rerunning this, and they didn't tear it all down.
And my point is, here's a gentleman that's a Republican that's in the region that still understands the success of politics from the other side, another party.
Good idea is a good idea.
That's right.
Right.
Thanks for calling us. This is Joe McCarthy
Good
Show.
morning. I wasn't even going to call in, but I was listening. I did a spit take with my coffee when I heard the gentleman say, I'm paraphrasing, I'm pretty sure it was close to what he said. I hope, maybe I was wrong, that infrastructure spending, if it leads to nowhere, is money down the drain. Can I remind the gentleman that infrastructure spending is the backbone of any city, state, or municipality of any kind, and whether or not it's leading to somewhere, if there's roads and there's people living at the ends of those roads, it leads to somewhere, pal. And
George has always been a good friend
luck
of mine.
on your political future. I have a question for you, though, before I go.
Please.
The people on this Occupy Wall Street movement, are they smelly hippies or patriotic Americans, in your view?
If they're
it's either or. That's all. I'll hang up and listen for your answer.
Thank you. You put a lot on the plate, and I appreciate.
First of all, infrastructure spending is nice if it's done in a way where you've got a specific goal you want to reach instead of George just throwing money at infrastructure.
Right.
Okay. Right. I'm sorry, so I have to say you're wrong with what you said. And Joe, go ahead. It's your show, man. Tell him. I mean, I'm an adversary.
Well, and you should be. It shouldn't be a softball routine. I'll go backwards first. Occupy Wall Street. If you're destroying public property, if you're protesting and just causing havoc and saying it is my right as an American, well, then take out a bond, pay for the damage you're going to cause, pay for the police protection that's needed there, and then say this is my God-given right, here's my money. As far as infrastructure going down a drain, if it's totally useless, I said earlier, the biggest investment anyone ever is going to make is their homes. Of course, they want streets, they want sidewalks, they want curbs, they want sewers, they want utilities, water services going to their houses. Of course, that's infrastructure that's needed. Hammond is an old city. Lost Marsh is a great project, but at the same time, they didn't realize it was going to cost them an arm, two legs, and the future of the next few generations down the road in order to pay off that debt.
And then, how are you going to make? Oh, that's another story.
Yeah, well, I mean, but you had a slag heap, and you had to do something with it. And in order to entice people to come back in the city of Hammond, and like I said before, Hammond's an old city, and you needed to spend that kind of money in there. But everything should be based on or reevaluated along the line. Everything should be on the table. Everything. It's your government, your money to say that, well, pal, you don't deserve this. Hey, I got a lot of pals and buddies and friends.
You don't want any buddies, according to Smokey Joe Merson. You don't want any buddies, man. I'll tell you.
I know. Been down there, road.
Hey, thanks for calling us. This is the Joe McCarthy Show.
How you doing, guys?
Okay.
Joe, I'm looking at the report here from the City of Hammond to the State Board of Accounts. Just right off the top, I know the previous caller talked about infrastructure, but in well over anywhere from $130 to $160 million that I could see that they have an outstanding long-term debt, $37 million of that is between the Cabela's and the Lost March Clubhouse. I didn't realize that was infrastructure. I guess some people have a liberal opinion of what infrastructure is. But anyway, a lot of this has been brought on by the bully pulpit from the mayor that you've got now that's ramrodded these projects. Some of them I think are questionable on as far as how much good they've done us. My question is, I've seen the councilmen in action, and the majority of them seem just to be on a short leash of the mayor. What can you tell us that's going to tell us that you're going to be any different, that you're going to be your own person on the city council?
Hey, thanks for the question.
Okay, guys.
Good question.
That is a good question because you work for the
absolutely.
city. I mean, is this guy going to roughshot you, or are you going to be working shift work?
No.
That doesn't affect. Well, you belong to the union, don't you?
I belong to the union, but there's also federal and state laws, the Hatch Act. And,
right.
If you know the laws, you cannot be. You could win today, but I'm going to win tomorrow, and I'm going to collect even more. But the last thing I want to do is sue the city that I love. As far as will I be my own person, I think is what the gentleman was talking about. On the conservancy issue, I followed that, and it made a lot of sense on paper. But then when I listened to George Van Til in the caucus room of the city council explain what he wanted to do, there was no explanation. So, of course, I get up there in front of the council, and I said, I didn't slam anybody. But I said, this is not a plan. and we need a plan. And until you can get control of the tributaries, until you understand what the actual flows are and how they interact and water dynamics and such, you cannot possibly plan out something to rein it in when you can't possibly rein in the whole watershed. So you have to do the basics, and I think Dan Repay is doing a heck of a job. Do I want local control? Absolutely, but I want local control based on a sound accounting principles. As far as the Lost Marsh project, Dwayne Delo entered into that contract. He was a Republican. I don't think he was a liberal's dream, but he saw something that needed to be taken care of, and we remediated that land, and the Lost Marsh golf course was put in there. I really believe, just like on the county level, where you have the county's got various golf centers. If the marketplace was in good shape, I would turn around. I would try to enter into more private partnerships with these facilities.
I'd sell it.
It's all well.
I'm sorry, Joe.
Well,
that's just going to be a burden. It's going to get worse without that boat money.
If you can, but at what point in time do you start selling off city assets? But at the same time, there's the balancing.
It's a loss, bud. It's a loss.
That's the balancing act. You have to wants versus needs, and you have to bottom line the budget. But quality of life is very important to the city of Hammond. We could start with that. There was a guy that was running, and he said, well, we should turn all the parks over to private industries, private investment. Well, goofy. I saw you furl your eyebrows. You said, well, how the heck would you do that? Well, there's a huge expense maintaining those parks, but you wouldn't want to give it over to a private concern. But at the same time, if your budget doesn't hold, can't support something, then you should look at your budget and say, what is it that we need to do differently? How can we work with this? And that should be, instead of looking prim proper and saying, I'm going to vote this way, say, well, these are the reasons, this is our budget, this is what we have, this is what we can do, this is where we're stuck if we don't have anything else. And eventually, programs like the RDA or the riverboat monies, they will either dry up, or you're going to use so much of that income committed for the next 5, 10, 15 years out that you got money coming in, but you can't spend it because you got to pay down debt.
You're really talking about thinking out of the box, pal.
Well, that's what it takes. That's what, and a lot of Hammond people will do that if there's an explanation. Instead of, I'm a Democrat and I'm a Republican, and I'm going to vote this way because this is the way it is. And people, if you engage in a conversation, I think everybody's very reasonable and they'll do the right thing.
Okay. Let's take one more phone call. We only have a couple of minutes. Last phone call. Thanks for calling, Joe McCarthy Show.
Yeah, I have a question. I heard you talk about college bound a little earlier, and if the child of the veteran qualifies for 100% to reimbursement from the state, and they qualify college bound, how does that work? I'll hang up and listen.
The good question. Everything is before college bound.
Right.
I mean,
so
if
you
they
would
apply for the grants,
deduct what they get from the college
whatever
bound monies.
whatever they're lacking, college bound would pick up.
I think they've had that figured out. Joe, do you want to? Why don't you give them a little final statement, where you're coming from or how you're getting there? And
well, I don't want to wrap it up with a straight. Yeah, people are going to say yes or no based on what they feel in their hearts of hearts is the right thing to do. Hammond is one of the last cities up here in Lake County that actually splits their ticket more so than Geary and East Chicago.
That's true. That's very true.
And, you could have a huge Democratic turnout, and in November you could have a huge split of people deciding who their best candidates are. And when it comes to the councilman at large, a lot of people don't realize what the councilman at large can do. Councilman at large, in my opinion, have been kind of shadow councilman, where the biggest question I get from people is, well, you're in my district, aren't you? Or what? You're over these guys. What is it that you do? So I have to explain to them, and I don't mind the conversation, but they go, oh, okay, well, okay, I could agree with some of this stuff. And of course, you're going to get others that just think that I'm a total idiot. So yeah, you run the whole gambit, and that's democracy in action.
And you have no gaming money. People should understand.
No,
that.
I don't have a dime of gaming money. All I could do is make the argument. One man can make a reasonable argument and attract public pressure to make change.
Hey, thanks a lot, Joe McCarthy. God bless you and good luck,
Rich,
Joe McCarthy, for councilman at large.
I appreciate it.
All right, a gentleman and a true patriot.
Well, thank you, sir. You too.